Speaker, warriors are not what you think of as warriors. The warrior is not someone who fights, for no one has the right to take another life. The warrior for us is the one who sacrifices himself for the good of others. His task is to take care of the elderly, the defenseless, those who cannot provide for themselves, and above all, the children, the future of humanity. Mr. Speaker, today I rise to deliver my maiden presentation to this honorable House, beginning with a native quote. When as a nation, we are celebrating Amerindian Heritage Month. As a proud Lacono, my presence here today is an accomplishment, not only for myself, but for every young Amerindian and every young Guyanese in our country. And I know that my family, friends, and villagers, to whom I also owe this accomplishment, are following this presentation live. Mr. Speaker, before I go any further, I wish to congratulate you on your appointment as Speaker of the National Assembly. And to my fellow Lacono warrior, Honorable Lennox Schumer, on his appointment as Deputy Speaker of this noble House. Mr. Speaker, today I am humbled to stand and speak on behalf of an inclusive government to fully endorse Budget 2020, our plan for prosperity, protecting our people in the COVID-19 environment, strengthening democracy and the rule of law, incentivizing growth and job creation, enhancing welfare. And our only regret is that Budget 2020 could not have been delivered since April. And by now, we would have been well on our way to implementing our plan for prosperity. Mr. Speaker, the coalition came to our villages in 2015 and attempted to sell us the promise of a good life. A few of us bought into their Nancy story, but the majority knew that many of their promises were just that, promises. They told us that it was time to respect Amerindians, and it was time to respect young people. And well, we all know the outcome of that story, which ended tragically on March 2nd, 2020. The APNU-AFC should now be ashamed to use the word democracy after blatantly attempting to hijack our elections. Mr. Speaker, the APNU-AFC respected us by firing close to 2,000 young people like myself under the CSO program. They respected us by taking away our solar panels, some of which were intended for the very pensioners that the honorable member, Ms. Dawn Hastings Williams, is now so concerned about for them to receive their electricity. They respected us by stifling our land titling program and referring to us as greedy. And we, in turn, Mr. Speaker, have shown them the necessary respect by sending them packing into opposition. Mr. Speaker, this disrespect was anticipated since prior to assuming office in 2015, the onslaught began when the then combined opposition mercilessly slashed monies allocated to us in the national budget under the Amerindian Development Fund. Mr. Speaker, this disrespect is still evident today in the opposing side of the House, referencing the presentation made by the Honorable Geographical Member of Region 1, Mr. Ronald Cox, when he said that the people of Browne were drunk on the Kamaka waterfront after receiving their $10,000 cash grant. Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Honorable Member, is this how we wish to portray the people of our hometown to the world? Mr. Speaker, we as Amerindians are not only known and capable of being drunkards, we as Amerindians can manage any income coming into our pockets. My brother, we are much more than that. Let us not say something like that to the world. The $15,000 cash grant will go a far way, a long way in ensuring that many more of us continue to blaze new trails and write our names in history in every sector and in every high office in this country. Mr. Speaker, this budget 2020 will correct and address many of this disrespect. On another note, Mr. Speaker, allow me to invite the honorable members of the opposition to the hinterland where I have called home for the past 28 years of my existence, including former ministers of government sitting here today who for the past 5 years did not set foot in many villages in my region, and as such are unfamiliar with our concerns and our plights. Across the region, the cries of neglect are the same. Mrs. Speaker, the government failed to stimulate local village economies, failed to lend support to community sports groups, failed to lend support for scholarships to youths in the hinterland, as was alluded to by the Honorable Minister Parag with given statistics. Again, these wrongs meted out to us, Mr. Speaker, will be made right in Budget 2020. Mr. Speaker, I know the honorable members on the other side attempted to differ on the development of the Berrima-Waini region. And the honorable member, Mr. Cox, he spoke passionately about a strip of concrete road in Mabruma, Port Kaituma, and a concrete bridge in Maruka, the smoothest road, also Barbina Access Road. The honorable member presented a lovely picture of the Barbina Swamp Road, which I would like to suggest was Photoshop, since I was in Barbina 2 weeks ago, accompanying the Honorable Minister Colin Crowell, and this, Mr. Speaker, is the reality of the Barbina Swamp Road. And Mr. Speaker, since I am also on evidence, this, Mr. Speaker, this is what the concrete bridge in Maruka looks like now. This is what it looks like. Recently, the approach has already detached itself. Was there any study conducted on the project site? Mr. Speaker, what is this, if not corruption? Mr. Speaker, while many mentions were made, it is not surprising that no mention was made of the coffee project in Santa Rosa, which can be considered a 95% failure with only a few coffee plants left standing. Nor did the member make mention of the processing facility in Smiths Creek, which is incomplete and for which the funding has been exhausted. No mention was made of the Cabana cassava factory, which is still yet to see the light of day. Mr. Speaker, while we await word on what is the next move for these projects, since millions were already expended, we also await word on what happened to our uniform allowance since 2018, for which sums were approved in consecutive national budgets. Mr. Speaker, we will have to show them how it is done. And it is indeed sad that neither of the two ministers, former ministers of Amerindian Affairs, are sitting here with us in this 12th Parliament to see firsthand what is truly a budget. Imagine, Mr. Speaker, two ministers could not deliver to the Amerindians what one minister single-handedly achieved under the PPP since the ministry was established in 1992. Mr. Speaker, I wish to turn my attention now to the regional health sector, which, like the rest of the country, has suffered severely under the previous government. From a severe shortage of drugs and medical supplies, as reflected in various consecutive audit reports. And there was a time when the biggest hospital in the region did not even have X-ray films to aid in simple diagnosis. And for every pain, the prescription was Panadol, until that too ran out. Mr. Speaker, this shortfall will be addressed in Budget 2020. Surgical outreach was done every 3 months under the PPP government. That too became a thing of the past. And our people had to be sent to Georgetown for routine surgeries that were otherwise done in Mabruma, thereby putting a further strain on the already heavily taxed GPHC. Mr. Speaker, the previous government boasted of having procured a state-of-the-art water ambulance for the people of Moruca to benefit from, and this was publicized with much show on social media. However, I stand here almost 2 years later, and I can say without fear of being contradicted that we, the people of Moruca, have not seen the propeller, much less the water ambulance. Mr. Speaker, the health sector is a mess, and I honestly feel sorry for the Honorable Dr. Frank Anthony because the road ahead would not be easy. But I have every belief and full confidence that he will bring back the health sector to what it was under the PPP. Mr. Speaker, the RDC, of which I'm a former vice chair, proposed and constructed two spanking new doctors' quarters, one in Manawaran village, where we noticed that maternal deaths were one too many, and one in Cabana, which is the closest point to villages in the entire Barama. We were promised 3 years ago that we would receive resident doctors to work in these communities, and that, Mr. Speaker, never became a reality. Now, we will have to fix this. While the APNU AFC was running back and forth to the courts to frustrate this country and delay the inevitable, we lost two of our children, two, to scorpion sting. And many thanks to the Honorable Dr. Frank Anthony, the staff at the Kamaka District Hospital, and the Guyana Defense Force. The third 8-year-old victim, who was medevaced almost immediately in the dead of night, is alive and well. And without a doubt, I know he will grow and become someone influential. Mr. Speaker, when we speak on issues, we don't speak with water in our mouths because we have visited every single village, unlike the honorable members on the other side, and no one can challenge that fact. So, Mr. Speaker, when the honorable geographical member spoke about the need for a health hut for my friends in Imbatero, I am left to wonder whether or not he had any voice in the past government to lobby on behalf of his hometown. Mr. Speaker, we will look at the people of Imbatero, which is only 10 minutes away from Marijuana, where there is a resident health worker. Mr. Speaker, the previous government did not construct any new health hut in Mabruma. Instead, it took them 5 years to almost complete the Port Kaituma Hospital complex that the honorable member spoke about, which was left by our government more than 50% completed. That was hurriedly commissioned just before elections for political mileage, and is still not completed. It is a mere skeleton, Mr. Speaker. There is currently no theater, no X-ray department, no nurses' quarters, and the doctors' quarters, for which 17 million was already expended, is still incomplete. And here we are, 5 years later, the PPP will have to complete its vision for the residents of Port Kaituma. 5-star and Bay Creek, critical areas with no access to communication were not even considered by the past government. Mr. Speaker, this will have to also be looked at in indicative years. The X-ray department at Kamaka District Hospital, which was left in budget 2015, is still incomplete, and patients still have to be transferred to study for a simple X-ray. Is this the good life? A maternal waiting home budgeted under the RDC in 2019 to benefit the people of Moruca District to aid in the process of monitoring our high-risk mothers from 36 weeks did not become a reality. And the monies were left sitting there, the reason nothing more than incompetence. Mr. Speaker, coming to that, RDCs such as Region 1 for the honorable member, which were controlled by the PPP, were frustrated, and our attempts to serve the people were stifled. While central government spoke about inclusion and decentralization, we were not given support to aid in the process of visiting our constituencies. And the order of the day was regional flags. And can we guess the color of those flags? Mr. Speaker, the RDCs were stifled to the extent that chairs and deputy were not allowed to execute their mandate as enshrined in the laws of Guyana as elected officials. I speak from experience. As a former vice chair who can completely relate from my experiences, since I was meted with the highest form of disrespect, not only as a young indigenous leader, but also as a woman, when I was refused an office space in the Moruca sub-region, regional office, and when the house assigned to me in my official portfolio was entered by regional officials while I was away in Georgetown awaiting the birth of my first child. And now I am attentively...
Honorable Member, I want to respect your right to complete your presentation. Can you please seek someone to move the...
Yes, please, Your Honor. I
motion.
respectfully ask for 5 minutes so the Honorable Member can conclude her maiden presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And so now, Mr. Speaker, I am listening attentively for the members on the other side to cry foul. Is that the inclusion? Is that the decentralization of governance? Is that the collaboration that Honorable Member Mahipal spoke about? But little did they know that in frustrating the RDC and trying to stifle the work of the council, they did not hurt us, but instead they hurt the people who were supposed to benefit from the services offered by the elected officials. And I am proud to say that we have maintained our 10 out of 15 seat majority on the RDC because the people have confidence in our leadership. Mr. Speaker, what can I say? I am a warrior, not a fighter. And today, I am proud to be in an inclusive and accommodating government. I am proud that every child in my region will receive the $15,000 cash grant. I am proud that every family will receive the 25,000 COVID relief. I am proud that presidential grants will be increased. I am proud of the support for farmers back home in my region with the Akushe ants poison and also the aid in terms of transportation. Since, Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Boats and Bicycles did not extend the services to our people. Mr. Speaker, I am proud of the reintroduction of community projects. And I'm also extremely proud and happy for my friends across the country who will now benefit from the reintroduction of the CSO's program once again. Further, I'm also extremely proud that the solar panels will be sent to homes where there is still none. The completion and furnishing of ICT hubs across the country. And Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely proud that the Honorable Minister and my brother, Honorable Colin Crowell, will improve significantly water supply, starting with this emergency budget. And most of all, I'm happy and I'm humbled and I'm proud of the representation of my people in this House and in the government. My friends and honorable members on the other side, let your conscience be clean. Let not the cries of the thousands be on your conscience, especially when as a country we too are battling COVID-19 and the effects of this dreaded virus. Let us support Budget 2020. We have a lot of fixing to do, and Budget 2020 is just a step in the right direction. You're all welcome on board. Guyana belongs to all of us. Thank you.